Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. Today, what we have for you is an OTA video. Wait, that's not true. What we have is 10 decks for the new meta after the OTA. That's right. We've got 10 decks that are either brand freaking new or have been given new life by the OTA. We're going to only go over the OTA quickly. We did a fully dedicated OTA video with specific thoughts on every single card in yesterday afternoon. So if you want to check that out, please feel free to do so. But very quickly, the OTA Zabu goes to a 1/1 on reveal. Each 4-cost card in your deck costs 1 less, which means that he's only affecting your deck, not your hand. Hellcow, she goes to a 4/7, but only discards 1 card with her activate ability. White Widow's Kiss gets a basic rework, as now it is a standard -4, but if your opponent fills a location, this card destroys itself. Viper loses a power. Grandmaster gains a power. Hulkling gains a power. Okoye gains a power. And Scream becomes a 2/3, but no longer works on unrevealed cards, which means that fundamentally she no longer works with Juggernaut. All of this is to say, the meta has been thoroughly shaken up. Zabu is in a ton of new decks. Clog is really hurting with the nerf to White Widow and to a lesser extent the nerf to Viper. Scream decks that were relying often on Juggernaut no longer exist. And Hela, ding dong, the Hela is dead. Grandmaster, Hulkling, and Okoye are more marginal changes. But these are huge changes. Let's get to a whole bunch of decks and what each can tell us about the Marvel Snap meta. 10 new decks. Number 1 is Ika's No One Can Hear You. This is a Scream deck. Scream is again now a 2/3. This deck is fundamentally saying I've got a move package. I've got a move my opponent's package, and because I've got those other cards, right, Kraven can benefit from me moving opponent's cards from my cards, so I can run Silk for that. And then you've got the Storm, War Machine, Legion combo. Nice and simple, right? There's a lot of power to be had here. This basically says I'm using Scream as a package along with a Storm, War Machine, Legion package in order to win games of Marvel Snap. Brilliant idea, absolutely stellar, super straightforward, and really, really effective. You can find Ika at twitch.tv/Ika_MTS. He is a phenomenal deck builder who has created many, many meta decks featured here on this channel and elsewhere throughout the Marvel Snap community. This deck needs Scream, Silk, War Machine, and Legion, so you have 4 cards that you need to play this deck. However, 2 of them are Series 4 cards, so at least there is that in terms of getting cheap access to it, and Nebula can be Miles. All right. Turn 1, you want Nebula or Kingpin. Turn 2, Scream if you have another mover, i.e. Spidey or Polaris, or Kraven if you have Silk or Storm as your next play. Turn 3, you would very much like to play Storm over Spidey or Polaris. If you can do Storm, War Machine, Legion, that's a free 2 cubes. You take your free win and you go on. Storm over Spidey and Polaris. Turn 4, War Machine if Storm, or there's some locations that make you want a War Machine, or you can go with a 3+1. 3+1s are really, really valid here. You can drop your Kingpin that you haven't played yet in one location and Polaris something over to it, for example, as a way to grab extra power. That is a big power swing. That play of you're not only getting the 7 power from Polaris and Kingpin, you're getting the -2 from Kingpin, which is now a 3/9, and then if you've got Scream out, you've triggered another 4, so you've got 413 worth of power that one turn. Turn 5, you very often want a Legion. Figure out what location benefits you. Legion it. If not, you're still fine to War Machine. You're still good to play composite cards. And then turn 6 is Magneto or Shang plus. And then you win. It's a really effective deck. So what does this deck tell us? What this deck tells us about the meta is 2 things. 1, the War Machine package is underexplored. I'm expecting to see a lot of War Machine package. The number 1 deck in the game right now is Sizer's move deck that runs Storm, War Machine, and Legion in what amounts to an Aranya Madam Web classic move package. There are going to be a lot of packages going forward that are running this War Machine combo unless some meta changes chase it away. The other thing worth noting here, I think, is that Scream is no longer a deck. For a little while, Scream was a full deck unto herself. I think Scream is now becoming a small package of 3 to 4 cards, and I think this is a really good place to start looking for that type of deck. I expect Scream, Polaris, and Spider-Man to fundamentally be the package, and then sometimes you'll go a little bigger with these extra cards as well, but I don't expect that to be consistent or often. I think, again, Scream is largely a small package card, because remember, with Scream as a 2/3, each move is +4 in power. To Scream, it's +2, but the opponent loses 2, so it's +4 in net power. That makes Scream with one move a 2/7. 2/7 is worth playing. 2/11 is must play. So excuse me, that package is very worth it. Hey, if you're willing to help us hit 15,000 subs, our current goal, we'd really appreciate it. We're trying to do it by the end of this year. We are almost there, unbelievably. We have 900 to go. Your sub would go a long way to helping us get there. A like and a comment in addition to your sub would help the YouTube algorithm show us to more people, which would benefit us greatly. If you're willing to help us out, we appreciate it. This week, we are doing 9 Marvel Snap videos. We do at least 7 a week with at least 4 new decks every single day. Today, you're getting 10 decks. You're not going to get this kind of Marvel Snap content anywhere else. Please hit that sub button. In addition, we are giving away a season pass this week. We're going to announce the winner on Sunday. The comments on every video, as long as you're subbed, carry a season pass winner. At some point in this video, I ask a question. You answer that question in the comments, and you're entered to win season pass. Nice and simple. So if you're looking for Agent Venom, you can get it that way. The last week of the season and then the first week of the new season, we give away 5 season passes, a season pass on every single weekday video. So if you're interested in that, please make sure you're subbed. All right, Woody's Big Namora is our next deck. Woody posted this on Twitter right before we went to record the podcast. Then I'm recording this late at night after the podcast. This seems really good. This is basically saying Misery has a new home. Junk would mess this deck up real bad. Namora was really hard to run this way in a very heavy junk meta. And Killmonger being in it at least partially, but now I think Zoo is going to be really good. We'll talk about that later. So this deck says I can keep my side of the board clear with cards like Misery and Killmonger. I can get the value out of Namora, and they can use that Namora value to play a card like Scar, which is just chef's kiss, beautiful, high, super high level power. This seems like the best Phastos home I think I've ever seen. I really am excited for this list. This is a lightly tested list, but Woody's one of the best players in the world, and I think at this point, because W is messing around with other games, I think Woody's probably the best deck builder in Marvel Snap. So you can find Woody at twitch.tv/YoWoodyMJ. This needs Zabu, Scar, Namora, Scarlet Spider, and Gwenpool. So those are absolutely needed cards if you want to play the deck. Zabu is, I know it says a 2/3 here. It takes a while for the deck builders to update. Zabu is a 1/2 now, which is just stellar. If you can get Zabu out on 1 or 2, and then you draw a 3-cost Scarlet Spider, Gwenpool, Misery, Symbiote Spider-Man, you are through the roof happy. Symbiote Spider-Man or Misery can be Iron Lad or Wong. Those are perfectly fine replacements. Don't feel like you need those relatively new cards, although it's really hard to do this without Scarlet Spider. Scarlet Spider is a lot of power across 2 lanes when it works. Phastos and Copycat are not needed. Ghost, Nocturne, and Gladiator are great. Phastos works almost the exact same way as Zabu here. If you can get Zabu and Phastos and they're both negative and you get a 2-cost Gwenpool, just snap so hard. Finally, Okoye may be better as Psylocke. Okoye is fine here, but I'm pretty sure I want my Okoye to be Psylocke in this list. All right, so Woody is basically always a top 10 player, and almost every season finishes within the top 5. Turn 1, you want Zabu. Turn 2 is Zabu over Okoye. And again, if you had Psylocke, I think Psylocke would go above Zabu if you had the right 4 in hand. Turn 3, you want to play Gwenpool, and that's generally better than dropping Phastos, depending on what's in your hand. And Phastos is more or less equal to dropping Symbiote Spider-Man at that point. You want to try and pump Scarlet Spider before you play it. So turn 4, you want Gwenpool as like your priority play, and that's over Misery as a general rule. You would like to Misery Zabu. If you can Misery Zabu on 3, that's even better. You're perfectly fine doing that. You can also drop Symbiote to set up be either Symbiote Gwenpool or Namora Symbiote. Or you can just play Scarlet Spider, perfectly fine to get your Scarlet Spider out. Fair warning, Symbiote and Scarlet Spider do not work together. If you Symbiote on Scarlet Spider, you cannot then activate Scarlet Spider. It's completely obnoxious, but it's the case. Turn 5 is either Scarlet Spider or Namora. That's nice and simple. The only plays you're really choosing here. And then turn 6, ideally, you've Namora'd 2 things to 10, so you get Scarlet Spider down to 2, and you play Scarlet Spider and a last 4-drop, and then you win the game. Because you just put a bajillion power all across the board in a million different ways, and this list is ridiculously cool. Props to Woody for it. This is, I mean, look, Nomura's in the shop right now. If you are on the fence to Nomura and Misery, I think this is the kind of deck that pushes you over the top. This seems ridiculously cool. What this tells us is that Nomura is now a real card. Nomura in the pre-heavy junk meta was a deck that always had one of the highest win and cube rates in Marvel Snap. Safety Blades, the one piece, was the build for it specifically. And that deck was consistently around the top 5 to 10% win rates in Marvel Snap, one of the very best decks. Junk fundamentally chased it away. If Junk is gone, decks like this can exist again, and I think this is an amazing brew to do so, to play this in. This is where Zabu decks want to live for now. This is more 4s than I think most Zabu decks need. You don't need 4/4s. I think you're fine with 3 or maybe even 2, because a 1/2 is such a low commitment, but this is really, really good. Hey, if you're interested in Pokemon Pocket, the Marvel Snap-like Pokemon game, check out the Pocket Meta, my channel over on YouTube, where I'm going to do some Pokemon Pocket content with my 8-year-old son, Noah. So if you're interested in that, please do check it out. Buddy's Misery Ramp. So we got another Misery deck here. The reason we're featuring a few extra Misery decks outside of just the regular stuff here is, well, Misery is a weekend mission card, and we always make sure that we feature weekend mission decks here on the channel. So our weekend mission card gets our weekend mission decks, which is Misery. We'll also make sure that we have plenty of Agent Venom decks for you later this video, including one that's absolutely stupid. This is also, I think, the best home for Emperor Hulkling right now, outside of just shoving it in an arishem deck, and you can shove anything in an arishem deck. You don't need that especially. This list is really, really good. Fundamentally, if you play Electro into Misery, you get a sort of Wiccan, but what Wiccan does is it makes you run a bunch of low-cost cards that you can play in combination later in the game, because you need to make sure you use all your energy early for him to do anything. What Electro Misery do is let you run a bunch of high-cost cards because you're trying to ramp into an extremely strong late game, and that's fundamentally what this combination of cards is doing. You can find Buddy at youtube.com/@BuddySnap. Please do check out my friend Buddy's YouTube. We featured a million Buddy decks here on this channel. You need Misery, Blink, and Null for this list. So not terrible. A Season Pass card, the current card currently in the shop, and a Series 4 card. Mana Bud can be Nebula, Jeff, Wasp, Kyra, whatever. Red Hulk and Eliath are just good 6s here. Think Magneto, Arrow, She-Hulk, Sasquatch, and you'll be totally freaking fine. Okay. Hey, Buddy's got a new YouTube. If you go check out the video about this deck, like it, comment that I sent you. On Sunday's video, I'm going to give away an extra season pass to one of you people. Cool. If you're looking for that Agent Venom season pass, go subscribe to Buddy, comment that I sent you, and you can win a season pass. So turn 1 for this deck, you pass. Turn 2 is Mana Web over Armor. You don't need Web, but she offers you a lot of variability. Turn 3, you want Electro. I generally play that on Mana Web if I can. Turn 4 is Misery on Electro. You can also attune it to get rid of your Electro just fine. Blink or Jubilee. Turn 5 is drop a 6, or you blink off that Jubilee. Turn 6 is just drop a 6. That's it. You've dropped a billion 6s. And if you got all the extra energy, if you went Atuma into like extra 6, or if you went Misery on Jubilee into getting a 6 out, you should have a 2-cost Scar that you can then play with like that 4-cost Atuma, that extra other card, whatever you want. Then Armor to protect things, and so on and so forth. Hulkling that becomes a Scar, that becomes a She-Hulk, that becomes something good, is just insanely strong here. And yeah, you go to town. Super cool list. Check out Buddy playing it in order to win a season pass. So again, this list will tell us whether Emperor Hulkling is worth it. My gut suggests that even in this list, even in this very list, we would rather do something like find a spot for like a War Machine and Infinite and cut Hulkling, and then we could add like a She-Hulk. But if Emperor Hulkling's ever going to work, this is the type of list for him to work. If this doesn't work, then he needs to be a 5-drop where he's just a card that no one should ever pay attention to. The other thing this is telling us is it's showing us a bit of how to build the Misery Electro deck as a high curve deck. High curve decks have not really been a thing outside of Hela, and Hela was just severely hit. So if you like Hela and Hela style decks, this is a place to look for a different type of combo deck that I think can be really powerful and effective. Hey, let's do a weekend mission review for Misery. Misery is a 4/7, Series 5 on reveal, 6,000 tokens on reveal. Repeat the on reveal abilities of your other cards here, then destroy them. I think Misery is pretty good. Do I think she's broken? No. Do I think she's must have? No. I think she's better than Scream. I think she's going to continue to increase in value, and I think she's borderline worth having. I think if you don't own Namora or War Machine, you absolutely open for them in Misery. I don't think she's going to be good as the bounce card coming out in a couple of weeks, whose name will apparently never stick in my head, but I do think she is very good and likely to be the second best card of the month. Third best card if you count Agent Venom, who you couldn't get through tokens and spotlights anyway. All right, Husky Puppies Misery Brew is another relatively high curve one. Husky runs more cost stuff, so this is saying I can go either Ravonna or Electro in order to get my Misery stuff off. This is fairly similar. This is almost like a Namora deck that's running a Misery package instead of the Namora package with White Tiger, and it's really cool in doing so, although this one does not bother with a Wong, which I think is really, really interesting. Husky is one of the best deck builders in the world. He's finished in the top 5 of the Infinite Leaderboard and a phenomenal player. So what Husky is doing here, I think, is really, really interesting. We are saying we're going to be able to play a high-cost thing plus another card for most of the spots along the curve. So you can find Husky at twitch.tv/HuskyPuppies35. We'll hear more from Husky later this video. This deck needs Misery, Cersei, and Blink. That is 3 Series 5 cards. The one was a Season Pass card. Kate can be Jeff or Mordo. I don't think Kate's actually terribly important here. And Ravonna Renslayer can be Viper. It's not always a good idea to Viper over an Electro, but it can be game winning. There's a lot of decks like Bounce and like Thena things that if you can Viper over that Electro, you have extra energy and no limits, and they don't, and it just wins you the game. So I like that as a backup plan. Husky, yet another top player, has Hood. Ravonna over Kate on turn 2 is generally the play. Then turn 3, you want Electro as your goal over Ravonna and Arrow, and you have a million ways to get rid of Electro. You can go Electro into Misery, Blink, or Cersei. Any of those are perfectly fine. Look at your hand, look at the board, and decide. If you didn't get Electro, you want to have Ravonna into White Tiger. If you don't have either, you Jubilee. You can also Ravonna into Jubilee if you didn't see Electro, into White Tiger, which is pretty damn good. That White Tiger is now a perfect target for either a Blink or a Cersei, so feel free to do that. You can also end up just playing Misery on it and turn that 1 power into an extra 8 plus a 7 power body. So Misery or Cersei on the previous stuff, or you can just drop White Tiger if you need be on turn 5. Turn 6, you want to Odin. What do you want to Odin? It really depends. It could be Blink, it could be Cersei, it could be it probably doesn't want to be Misery. You do that, and then you play Magneto. And if you got the Electro into Misery play, you can play Odin or Magneto with Shadow King, which is just awesome. Cool. All right, that's enough Misery. You have your weekend mission decks. We've learned we're going to do one more Misery deck as our second to last deck. We, as always, have a secret super duper sick deck as our very last deck, one I really, really, really like a lot. So we'll talk about that at the end. But for now, this is Husky Puppy's Misery list. This offers us yet another look at Misery, and a card I think that is coming back into the meta is Cersei. I think Cersei, Blink, cards that sort of like, if Hell is not the high variance play, what we have to figure out is what that like high variance play is. What is going to be? The other card that's not going to be featured here that it could be because no one's even tried it yet, that's to the best of my knowledge, is Lockjaw. Blink might just be better than Lockjaw right now, but Lockjaw was recently buffed, so we'll see. But there's this weird combination of things where we will find a high roll deck, a big ramp deck that becomes a piece of the meta, an answer to the puzzle. One of these decks is likely to be it. Plus, if Husky says this is good, then he's right. If you'd like to see gameplay from these decks, please check out the stream team. Tonight is Friday, so the Pirate King Tuccrr will be going live between 10 and 11 p.m. and he will stream these decks. Check him out. The King of Canada will have yesterday's decks in a video soon. All right, next up, Safeties Cobra Kai. We featured this earlier. This deck used to have Nico in it, and Nico should be Zabu. Why should it be Zabu, you ask, dear friends? Well, Zabu only has 3 targets here, right? But all 3 of those targets are extremely high priority. If you can get a Wiccan or a Gwenpool out early, you are in heaven. One of the main goals of this deck was to go Wiccan on 4, Gwenpool and a 3 on 5, Gwenpool and Speed, or Gwenpool and Marvel Boy on 5. You can do that kind of play with a Shang now, right? Which just seems insanely strong with Zabu as a 1-2 as an early play here. Really, really cool stuff. All right, so you can find twitch.tv/SafetyBlade is where you can find our friend Safety, one of the best deck builders in the history of the game. He created Slayer Blade. This needs Marvel Boy, Wiccan, Gwenpool, Alioth, Kitty, and Kate Bishop. That's an expensive deck. I know. Sorry. Zabu and Sable can be Iceman, Hawkeye, Nico. Kind of any good one. This deck did exist just fine without Zabu. I just think Zabu makes it significantly better. US Agent can be Shang if you have Zabu. If you don't have Zabu, you need US Agent. And Speed can be Gladiator. Did I say it can be Shang? Like Shang's not here. It can be, sorry, Enchantress. Silly brain. You want it to be another way to handle a big card is fundamentally what you need. You want a third tech card in that spot. And again, Speed can just be Gladiator just fine without losing too much. So Zabu is absolutely beautiful in this. This is like my example of like a perfect regular Zabu shell. We're not going as all in as we were with the previous Woody list, but I think this is going to be an absolutely stellar list for Zabu. Zabu is your turn 1 play. Unless you need a 2, then you can play Maria or Kitty. Turn 2, you want Kate if you don't have a 3, or you can play 2 1s. Turn 3, Marvel Boy over Speed, or bunch of 1s, or a 2 and 1. Turn 4, if you can, Wiccan. That's over Gwenpool. Turn 5, Wiccan over Gwenpool. Gwenpool over Wiccan at this one, excuse me. If you Wiccaned earlier, you want to play Gwenpool and a Speed. And then turn 6 is Alioth, and if you can Alioth and US Agent, you should do so, because that's a really, really powerful thing to be doing in Marvel Snap. And this is the list. This is sort of showing us, hopefully, the difference between a Wiccan shell that tries to ramp and a Misery shell that tries to ramp. Note how this is playing a lot of mid-range based cards. That's how Wiccan is built. Wiccan does not go super hard into the high cost stuff, whereas the sort of ramp that Misery is offering is playing a lot of heavy cost cards, a lot more expensive cards than a Wiccan ramp card deck. Hopefully that makes sense, and this is again an example of how you can use Zabu in this type of shell. Also, Marvel Boy remains stupidly underrated and is worth playing. Hey, our season pass question is, what are your overall OTA thoughts? Let me know in the comments to this video. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What do you like? What do you hate? Comment away to win a season pass. Huskies, Helagatha. I told you Husky would be back. Everyone stopped playing this list because Hela came out and Hela just blasted this away. I told you I thought War Machine was going to come back. I guess I'm telling you why at the start for this one. I told you I thought War Machine was going to come back in a really big way. This deck does a wonderful job at eating War Machine and being super disruptive to everything everyone else wants to do, while also putting a ton of power on the board. If this game becomes more mid-rangey, this will be one of the best decks again. It's where you want to be. Black Knight is going to be incredible. There might be another Black Knight shell that's being experimented with Zabu, but a lot of the thing old Zabu did with Black Knight was it made the shard cheaper, and now Black Knight, the shard can basically never be made cheaper by Zabu, so I'm not sure if that deck exists, but I do know this one does, and it's worth experimenting with once more. You can find Husky once more at twitch.tv/HuskyPuppies35. You need Black Knight and Legion for this list. Vision is probably better as either Lady Dash Strike or Makari, but Vision is perfectly fine here. Hydra Bob can be Sable or just plain old Hawkeye. This is just so much better than it was yesterday when Hela was everywhere. It's wild. And again, if the answer that people go to is War Machine stuff, this beats that because it runs Legion. Turn 1, you want Black Knight over Hydra Bob. Turn 2 is the same thing as turn 1. Turn 3, you use Moon Knight or Sif to get rid of your Agatha if you have Ghost Rider or played Black Knight. If not, you just wave. Turn 4 is Shard or Rider. Turn 5, Black Bolt if no Moon Knight, or if you didn't play Moon Knight. If you you can still play Moon Knight there if you don't have Black Bolt, just fine with the cheaper card. Or you play Vision, because what you really want to end the game with is Stature and another big card. That's usually Claw, but it can be Ghost Rider or the Black Knight Shard as well. This is one of the easiest decks to play in Marvel Snap. If you are struggling for Infinite, please do go take this to Infinite. It is also a really high win rate and consistent deck within Infinite that offers far more disruption than it looks like, while giving you the most consistent gameplay that Marvel Snap has ever had. A bit tongue-tied is the Venom bundle in the shop. It's 2,000 gold for 2,000 credits and Venom. Please do not buy this. This is 81% progress value for gold. That is 40%, 30% more than is a good buy, and 40% less than is a great buy. This is an absolute waste of gold for a very for a variant. You're paying for a variant. You're getting credits, less credits than you could just normally. Don't buy this. Pretty please. a bit tongue-tied is a terrible, terrible bundle. Woody Bounce is our next deck. We talked about this. I hit Infinite with this, but I thought this deck would be really. This wasn't going to be in the video. I thought this deck would be really, really well positioned to the meta after I saw the nerfs. I was like, oh my god, did they just make Bounce like undisputably the best deck? Because it had an argument as the best deck before, right? And like it was this and the Woody Bully deck, I think, were like the two real contenders. But there was enough Hella and enough other stuff out there that were real competitors. So I was like, I think Bounce is really well positioned. And so I told Sizer to play it on stream. He's ranked #1. He had a 76% win rate. We need to talk about this deck again. This is the best Agent Venom deck in the game. I think this is the best deck. Play this deck. Just play it. Learn Bounce. Play it. Gnome created this version. It's twitch.tv/gnome_plays. My friend Sizer at Sizer2654 also plays it. This needs Black Swan. Monkey or Sage can be Werewolf. You do need the other. Agent Venom can be Bast. It's way worse, but it is a change you can make. And Nico and Silver Sable can be Iceman, Hawkeye, or kind of whatever good 1-drops you like. It's all fine. All right, so this is still my current favorite deck. Turn 1, you Hood or Sable. Turn 2, you play Agent Venom. That's better than Swan over 2 1s. Agent Venom is a snap condition. Swan on 4 is a snap condition. Turn 3, you would really like to Bishop. You're fine playing Swan as Swan and a 1. You're fine getting a early bounce if you have both your bounce cards. Turn 4, you get out Swan and you sort of play whatever you want with Swan, right? Like you just play other cards with Swan. Be careful of your placement because you want to bounce stuff. Turn 5, bounce, and if you can bounce and Sage, you bounce and Sage. You can Sage on 3 if you know you have Beast and are willing to play Beast on turn 5 as well. Because you can basically always Beast and Falcon on turn 5, as long as you get out Swan on turn 4. Turn 5, bounce and sometimes Sage, and if you bounce Sage, so much the better. Then turn 6, Monkey, Sage, and Mysterio, and free ones. I tend to play Monkey Sage in the free ones if my Mysterio isn't a 2/12. If my Mysterio is a 2/12, I tend to play the Mysterio, the free ones, and Monkey. And then I win. This deck is wild. Again, 76% win rate for the #1 player, meaning he's only playing top-ranked players. This deck is completely wild. This is where you want to be for Agent Venom weekend missions. I think this is a serious claim for the best deck in the game. I didn't feature the Sizer Bully because I featured it literally yesterday. So if you're curious about seeing the updated version of that list, please check yesterday's video. But this is the deck. Caught red-handed. I reviewed this earlier in the week and I messed up. I reviewed it based off the data mined value, not the real value. The real value is this is a absolutely terrible bundle. This Carnage bundle is almost as unbuyable as that Venom bundle. Please don't buy it. It is a terrible deal. Again, you will get better just spending your money on gold. Don't buy an extra variant and an extra card border. They're giving you terrible value here. Don't support it. Ika's Zoo. We've talked about this ages ago, but I think it's back because it can run Zabu. I put Zabu in over Nico or some other 1-drop. It does not matter. But what that basically means is a 3-cost Khazar or 3-cost Super Giant are great when I have other ones in the deck. If I have that, gives me that extra turn to play that Ant-Man or Squirrel Girl. The amount of power that can generate is like 6, 7, 8 extra power on the board. That's absolutely huge. Phenomenal stuff. You can find Ika at twitch.tv/IkaMTS, still, just like the first deck. This needs Marvel Boy, Gilgamesh, and Mockingbird. Super Giant can be Super Skrull. I think Super Skrull is going to be really well positioned. A lot of people are running Cosmo in that spot, or the Shadow King spot, or Rogue in that spot. I think there's a lot of like Darkhawk and Iron Man and War Machine all over the meta, and having an answer to that is great. Super Giant does a lot of that job for you as well. So again, Ika. Let's go back. The reason I like Super Skrull for Super Giant is the Zabu still works with Super Skrull. Turn 1, Zabu over Squirrel Girl over Ant-Man. Turn 2, Dazzler is better than a 1 unless Marvel Boy is in play. Turn 3, Marvel Boy is better than Shana or 2+1. Turn 4, Super Giant or Khazar, depends on what the board is and what your opponent's playing. If they look like they might be a Sarah deck, right? For the love of God, Super Giant. If they look like they might have a Cersei that they need to play Super Giant, you get it, right? Mess them up with Super Giant if you can, if not Khazar. Super Giant also lets you hide what you're going to do. You can hide a Gilgamesh, you can play Blue Marvel, you can play a 4+1. Shit, if you get the right card, you can play Khazar in 2 1-drops, which is crazy. And then turn 6 is Gilgamesh on a 1, or Shadow King with Mockingbird and Shana. Or if you hid Gilgamesh, you can now play Blue Marvel in a 1. And that's it. It's a shit ton of power. That's fundamentally what the argument here is. I think that this deck is a shit ton of power. Shana being able to hit Zabu which can then hit Khazar and Supergiant, is super cool. And in addition to having your own Zabu, that's just even better. Works with Marvel Boy. I think that this is going to be a really, really well-positioned deck, especially if you can keep Shadow King. Bounce does not like Supergiant. It cannot bounce its cards, right? This should be a fundamentally powerful card. If you're worried about the War Machine combo, they play War Machine, you play Supergiant. Good for them. So they can play 6, but they sure can't Legion, right? I think Supergiant's really well positioned. I think Shadow King should beat the crap out of most bounce decks. And if, again, you're winning priority too much, make that Shadow King beat Cosmo, and you'll be totally fine. You just end the game by going Shauna Cosmo. This list should be super duper well positioned right now. Again, go give it some run. Hey, my wife has a Instagram channel called The Crystal Bee. You can find it at The Crystal Bee 21. If you're interested in some really great jewelry, she specializes in crystals and like tiaras and stuff. If you're looking to buy something nice for a family member, please go check out on Instagram The Crystal Bee 21. Tell her I sent you. It would really earn me a lot of brownie points. All right. Thursday 4 has Les Mis. I told you we'd be back with a Misery deck, which means we're already on deck 9, which is pretty good because I've been recording for several hours now when I would like to go to sleep. So Thursday at 4's Les Mis is yet another version of the Darkhawk deck, the Darkhawk Ronin deck. We featured one of these yesterday. I'm going to be honest, I think this one is better. I think that this is an absolutely stellar version of the list. I really want to fit the hood, but I could not figure out how. You would have to replace Juggernaut, and I'm not sure if that's good. We'll have to see if the meta, as it develops, is filling up the whole board or not, but this list is wildly good. It's so strong. You can find Thursday 4 at twitter.com/Thursday4. This deck needs both Grandmaster and Darkhawk, but Misery can be Absorb Man or Symbiote. What you're getting out of Misery that you're not getting out of these other cards is you getting a retrigger on Master Mold or Rock Slide is good. Getting a retrigger on Black Widow is good. Getting a retrigger on Master Mold and Black Widow is insanely strong. Getting a retrigger on Master Mold and Rock Slide is stupid. Getting a retrigger on Baron Mordo and Black Widow is great, right? So if you can go Baron Mordo, Black Widow, Misery, they drew a 6, then they didn't draw, and they didn't draw again, and the next card they draw is going to cost 6. Yikes! Good luck, friend. All right. So this is the last Misery deck. This is my favorite of the Misery decks. Turn 1, you Korg. Turn 2, you Master Mold over Mordo, unless you have the exact Mordo Widow Misery combo already. Then do that because it's gross and snap, please. Turn 3, Widow or Rock Slide. Turn 4, Misery on whatever you can is better than just playing some more 3s. And then turn 5, you play Darkhawk or Ronin, right? And then you whichever one has more power if you have both. Then you either play the other, but ideally what you do is you copy one of them with Mystique, and then you play Cosmo or Juggernaut, and then you win. Sick list. Props to Thursday 4 for coming up with this. Again, Mordo, Black Widow, Misery. Oh, so mean. Hey, we have a Patreon. The $1 tier of our Patreon offers access to all of our tournaments. We run an absolute ton of tournaments, from King of the Hill nightly tournaments to Giant Snap Judgment League tournaments. $1 tier gives you access and helps support our content. In addition, it's less than 3 cents a video, and it gives you an access to a deck archive of all our decks. That's a lot for $1, right? The $5 tier is early access to videos and decks and exclusive questions. Basically, as soon as I finish recording the video, I upload it, and then I put it on the Patreon so you can watch it early, which means you get access to the deck sooner. You also get extra access to exclusive questions, and I do all sorts of extra stuff at the $5 tier where possible. The $10 tier gets you a shout out every video and at least 1 weekly exclusive video, and I think I figured out a way to make it 2 weekly exclusive videos, so if you're interested in that, check it out. Patreon.com/snapjudgments if you are interested. There'll be a slide in a few that has all that info. Ready for my favorite deck in this whole damn video? Gnomes, Jimmy, Pure Aggro. I think this is so well positioned right now. I think this is so freaking well positioned right now. I think this puts up an absolute ton of points in ways that opponents are not going to be dealing with unless Killmonger really, really takes over the meta. I think that this puts up enough power to beat absolutely any deck in Marvel Snap. Cool. You can find Gnome, who created this, at twitch.tv/gnome_plays. Jimmy Dickens also helped to make this. Jimmy is a Snap fan writer. This needs Madam Web, Aranya, Ghost Spider, and Sage. Agent Venom can be Bast, again, way worse. Havoc, it can be Falcon or Beast to really sort of go all in on the power here. So, this is not the current rank 3 player. That's not an accurate statement. I don't know what Gnome's rank is. He's around, last I checked, he was in the top 20. Oh no, I didn't turn by turn this. Pretend I'm not redoing a whole video, friends. I love you so much, but it is very late at night. So what you want to do is turn 1, you want it on. You don't want to play anything else. Turn 2, you really want to set up Venom Web. The only thing you would do on turn 1 is you could play Human Torch if you know you have Venom Web. I'd still prefer to drop it on you first and then pass into Venom Web. You can Agent Venom over Venom Web and wait an extra turn to get your Venom Web set up. It's fine. That's a choice you can make depending on what's in your hand. If all of your really cheap stuff, if Torch is in the deck, if Sage is in the deck, if Dagger's in the deck, Agent Venom. If not, just drop Venom Web and be done with it. Turn 3, you would really like to do is you would like to get an Aranya Human Torch into like Ghost Spider or Iron Fist Aranya Human Torch and just get yourself like a 16 power Human Torch going. Once you get that moved into whatever position you want, what you're really going to want to do is you're going to want to try and like either Cosmo it or Doctor Strange it over into a Cosmo, and then you want to get a second mover going. That second mover is ideally Vulture. Or Dagger, I guess is fine. Whatever second one you get that to a reasonable size, right? Like you get Dagger to a 9, Vulture to a 9, and then you use that plus Sage or that plus Havoc to win that lane, and then you win. This list is so good. I need to do a better guide on this. Expect to see this deck again very soon because I messed this up. All right, turn 1, Aranya. Turn 2, choosing between Madam Web and Agent Venom. If you Aranya'd and you have Iron Fist or Ghost Spider with Human Torch, you can do a combo to get that set up. Turn 3, into your Madam Web, you get your move set up. If you played Agent Venom, you drop Madam Web and hopefully get another mover set up so you can punch or pull something into Madam Web. Good? Move stuff with Madam Web around turn 4 as best you can. And then make sure you're getting ready on turn 5 to try and set up a Cosmo to stop that. Get a second mover onto Madam Web. Move that second mover off Madam Web. You've got now a protected spot with Cosmo, right? Like one really big mover with Cosmo, ideally Human Torch. And then you've got a second mover on Madam Web. You're going to move that second mover from Madam Web, and then you're going to play either Havoc or Sage, or Ghost Spider, Havoc, and Sage, ideally. And that's how you end the game. That's your turn 6. Cool. Thanks for watching. All right. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. Patreon.com/snapjudgments is the spot. I'd like to say thank you to, and again, we're going quickly, it's super late, Abigail Kieslet, Mentor Burnett, Irregardless, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer Inc., I Am Frostman, Jane Everett, Corwin, Primed Ryan, Ryan Burke, Caretix Lee, Quire, Black Dahlia, Pyrofrost, The Goat Seeker, Dead Matt Falcon, Archangel 3K, Hollowed, Quid Pro Joe, Docty, Fat Nick, Mr. Kerfuffle, Ginger Prime, Philip Brakovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob Zillerman, The Beza, Exorcy and Skippy G, Timon Nyquist, The King of Bros, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Ryan Wood, Kepsi Hoda, Lunar Chris, Quantum Quinn, John Q and Jimmy McHugh, Clam, 8th Sage, Mod Supreme Models, Darth Tater, Joe P, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B, J. Dino, The Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrum X, Hoot, Matt H, DJ Mike Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, Craig Starry, BG, Jonesy, check out the Triple Threat, Two Ties, The Great Lord Devs, The Pirate King Tucker, The Homie Minute, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for. See you tomorrow for a podcast. Hopefully this 10 videos can hold you over for a day until Sunday when you get some more decks, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate all the love and support, and I'll see you soon for another Snap Take. Peace.